Hello, everybody. So, today, as you can see, I'm doing this thing solo. So, Pierre is not with me today, but I have a wonderful guest and I'm excited to bring her on. She's been on before with her husband. And we are going to talk about the real, the raw, and the rewarding experiences of life after 50. And in this particular episode, we're going to talk about being free or freedom after 50. And we're just going to talk about solo travel. We are just going to really get open and honest about what it's like at this time in our lives as women of color, as Black women, just being free, just having a good time, and just getting to know who we are after, you know, kids and, if we're still married, but we just want to have an open, honest conversation about this time in our lives. So I want to bring on Miss Denica from H&D Abroad. I'm sure you've seen them. She's wonderful. They have a wonderful podcast, which I'll have the link in the description below. But I'm going to bring her on and we're going to start really delving into this being unapologetically 50, 50 plus. So here she is. Hey, Dee, how you doing, beautiful?
Very good. I love talking to you. So we
Oh, thank you.
this is going to be a treat for our audience, but it's always a treat to get together with you, Angela,
Yeah,
because
thank
you have
you.
so much good energy and good insight in the
You.
world, and we always come away with not just smiles, but we have laughed. We are going to laugh the laugh
Yeah, yeah,
today.
yep, yep, we are. So let's start off with this because the one thing that I wanted to talk about and kind of I gave in my intro a little bit is this stage in our lives at 50 and 50 plus, because I'll be 58 in December, we just have a different perspective, a different outlook on life than we did when we were in our 20s, 30s, and even 40s. And for me, this space was about bringing women together, women of color in particular, to talk about this stage and giving some wisdom and giving some just being able to have a community of women in our 50s to really come together and talk about this
Mhm.
and hopefully, have some valuable information for women who are about to transition into their 50s. Because, I mean, yeah, my mother was around and she talked to me, but not really. That my mother was the silent generation. So there wasn't a whole lot of talking about when you get in your 50s and this is what's going to happen. We just kind of, it was just, it was what it was.
Yeah, I was
So,
just like, you just live your life. And I'm like, but there are so many clues you could give me to what to expect. Our bodies are similar,
mhm,
and so our mothers have been our roadmaps, whether they have seen themselves as the trailblazers in our lives
right,
or
right.
not. But we're picking up those things. But I think there's some things that they should that I would have wanted for them to be more specific about.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah, if
Yeah.
not, then we've got to share it as a sister circle for sure.
Yes, definitely. So, what I want to talk about today is this traveling solo, because this is a big thing, especially now with who in the office. I'm not even going to say his name. There's going to be more Black women like, babe, if you're single or if you, well, especially if you're married or in a long term partnership, there's going to be a lot of women like, you know what? Peace out. You can join me or you can stay here, but I'm out of the US. And I know you and Herman have been really going down that road. So,
Yeah.
but for you, and I know you do a lot of traveling on your own. I've seen you, doing some of your podcasts and different,
Mhm.
house sitting and stuff like that, which I still need to do. I signed up, but I haven't pulled the trigger. I know I'm procrastinating. I know. I'm gonna do it. Because I was thinking about I need to do that because I'm going back to Portugal for a second scouting trip in April,
Mhm.
and I just haven't pulled the trigger. So I'm gonna have to do that. But anyway, for you, what was the turning point when you started deciding to travel alone? Were you in your 50s or was it, before then? But what made you want to start doing this travel alone?
Well, let's see. So I want to say that I would not have described myself as a traveler, but as I have thought about, um, as I've thought about my travel experience, I traveled a lot for work. I've always traveled for work. I mean, like my first jobs out of grad school, I was traveling for work, presenting at national conferences, like public health
Mhm.
conferences, and I did that for the sole purpose of career. And so usually
Okay.
I'm going, my purpose is really work focused, networking, but really not
Mhm.
taking in an experience. And
Right.
so, working 25 years and all of my jobs have had me to travel in different places. So I, I would have initially called myself a not, what do you call that? A virgin traveler. I'm a virgin
Yeah.
adventure traveler. So what
Oh.
I wound up doing as an awareness, because was taking, if I could go on these business trips, building in some time to do a little bit in the city. And
Mhm.
so that really, I mean, I think people don't realize that they can build in experiences before they start doing these just for personal pleasure, pleasure travel, leisure
Right.
travel, that
Mhm.
they can build in these kinds of experiences locally,
Mhm.
but or attach them to something that they're already doing for work or some other types of things. But for me, it started to be important to build those kinds of experiences because I never liked the box. And as a mother and as a wife, like you even if you're not a boxy kind of person, you start to put yourself in the box and live in the box.
Yeah.
And as our kids got older, I felt like I could do more. My husband has always been really supportive of my work
Same
travel.
here.
Sometimes
Yeah.
my daughter, when she was 2 at daycare, she told her teacher that her mom lived on a plane. And I was like, okay, I'm traveling too much for work. So let's,
Yeah.
let's rearrange it so that I have more time at home with the kids. But I didn't realize how important that time away was for me. And as I began to look at my life in the box, I was like, I need the things that I have always valued, I need more of in my life.
Right.
As I got
Right.
into my 40s and then into my 50s, at 51, I now know that time away is important to the vibration, the lower vibration that I need in my life.
Yes.
I need time to hear and hear myself, to hear my thoughts. And when you're single and I don't want to, or I want to do this, to have that self-directed time without accountability to having to think about, okay, well, if I do this, then, but I've got to be ready to pick the kids up or to have
Mhm.
dinner ready or things like that. And so I
Yeah.
realized I needed more of that in my life. It just was, how do I do that? Because I was on a budget. We have 3
Mhm.
children. We had 3 in college at the same time.
Ooh.
You're thinking about what is the impact of the decision now that I am beginning to recognize that I need this in my life. How do I
Mhm.
balance that with the other things happening in my life? Is it selfish to say
Right.
I need this time away when, if I'm going to continue to operate in the box, that sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't. So I kind
Right.
of personally came to a decision point and had, I can talk to you about that process if you're interested, but yeah, it
Sure.
kind of came to that friction point of having to say, I really need this, and then verbalizing that first to my partner.
And
Uh,
I think that what you just said, how you came to that decision, and then, of course, talking to, Herman about it, how important that is. So, yeah, walk us through that, because there are a lot of women out there, even at our age, who are like going, "Yeah, but he's not gonna understand." And you're gonna have some husbands. My Thankfully, Pierre is very understanding, and, and supports, even, not haven't really talked about it on our podcast with him and I, but just talking about, this move abroad for me, because he can't do it right away. He has other obligations here, so I'll be doing it solo. So that's another thing I thought was really great about having this conversation is, having that also having that conversation with your partner if you're not single, and what does that look like? So what were those steps for you and Herman?
Well, let's see. So I'm going to go all the way back to my early 30s. We had our last child when I was in my early 30s. And I
Okay.
remember the first time that I was just like, when you realized, we call it in the birth world, moms are touched out. Like, your littles are just, they want to be in your lap, they want to be with you, you're
Right.
nursing, and I breastfed all of our kids for almost two
Yeah.
years. So I mean, your personal space. And I remember the first time I said to my husband, I'm not the person that you married. Like, I am changing, I am evolving, and I want
Yes.
you to recognize that it is not a difference that is separating us, but I need you to recognize that my interest, is changing. And I think
Yeah.
that was one of the most important things for me, is not keeping that inside, is being thankful to be in a relationship where communication about heart issues, about internal emotional issues, was not foreign to us, but that it was my responsibility, if I was feeling differently, that I would share what I understood at that point in time with my partner. And that we've
Mhm.
had to have those touch points along the way,
Mhm.
for me to feel like, um, if I had not done that, for me to take a pivot and say, oh, and now I'm going to solo travel, would have been very disorienting in our marriage. And
Right.
so, I think I chose, just out of, it was almost just like, I'm recognizing some things I think it's important for you to know. And then as I continued that self discovery,
Mhm.
to my 40s, that I was like, and I was doing some readings that talked about the changing woman,
Yeah.
and that our need for quiet, for time away, is a normal part of the brain development of women. I was like, okay, so I'm not weird, but no one in my circle was talking about
Mm.
that. And so it was just kind of doing that reading. And then in my late 40s,
Ah,
encountering Exodus Summit and recognizing there's a community of women who are saying taking a break, taking time away is normal, and people sharing how they were doing it, especially those who were on a budget, kind of had some of the
right.
same markers that I have. I have a partner. I'm in my career. I have emotional needs. I have curiosity about myself.
Mhm.
Was very important to discover, and to have time to do that. That was uninterrupted by the normal things, at home. I took my career break at home. I took 3 months off at home.
Nice. Okay.
I was
Uh-huh.
in schedule with everyone, and I recognized I couldn't center myself because I still felt, I still felt an obligation. Maybe that might not even be the right word. If I'm home and, there's a need, mom's going to step in. Our youngest wasn't driving. And so, I made sure he got to classes or to work or things like that as he was learning to drive and things like that. But as I began to recognize that life could happen and would happen in my house, whether I was there or not, and that I could prepare the people to take care of themselves, and that my husband and I had done a good job of that. There was no risk in stepping away for a time, and that there wasn't anything that was going to fall apart, or that our relationship was going to have questions because I took this time away. Right. We had several conversations because the strategy that I used was to use house sitting as a way to do it on a budget. So you exchange for free accommodation, you exchange performing a service for a family. So you stay in their home or their apartment, or their place without having to be there and be in a new place and pay for housing, which is usually one of the most expensive things. And so I can find a cheap ticket, a less expensive way to get there and maintain myself in a space. And so it was making that transition first in my mind that it was okay, talking to my partner and sharing with our kids, things are okay. Mom just needs time to herself, time away, that I'm hoping that I'm being a good example of that, because each of them need to begin to create a routine for that. And I recognize where I didn't see my mother do that intentionally. I wanted to be that example for our kids.
Right. So how did Herman, how receptive was he? Because again, when you're in a long-term relationship and you hit that, like I said, you hit that 50 mark and you're like, oh, I need, like you said, that box. Because that's how I have been. Because when I was younger, my mother used to say, you're just free floating everywhere. The world is your oyster. And then you get married, you have children, and then there's that box that you feel you have to fit into. And like I said, thankfully, my husband lets me, he'll pull me down sometimes because I'll get up in the clouds. I'll get up in the clouds and he'll pull me down. But how was that conversation with Herman when you basically said, hey, I need this? And how was that conversation with your children? Were they receptive, or were they like, Mom, put a little guilt trip on you?
Let's see. So they were adults. And so I don't guilt trip them on their lives. And so come on, they may ask, what's happening? Why are you doing that? And I tried to be really open to them about, I have always had a sense of adventure. I brought them along on my adventures, when they were younger, but now it's time for Mom to have her own, curate her curiosity about the world that I hope that I inspired within you. With my husband, he had questions about, why are you doing, what's happening? Are we okay? Which I think is an appropriate approach. And that I felt, I didn't feel that he was trying to distract me from my goal of spending time away. He was just trying. It was a check-in. It was a relationship check-in that I think is important. I did ask him, I know that, okay, so what I'm describing to you all is not a weekend trip away. It wasn't, I'm taking a week away. Mm-hmm. Most of the solo traveling I have done has been for a month or so.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So you
And
gonna
so
do
when I
Airbnb,
say
right?
I took time away, I
Mhm.
mean I really did take time for myself. Because there's some things you can do in a weekend, there's some things you can do in a week. There's an expansive amount of things that you can stop, start, try within, a month or 6 weeks that you would not have the space or time to do, to establish for yourself.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so we spent some time talking about things like safety. He was like, I know that you're an experienced traveler. I know that you know how to keep yourself safe. I know that you have strategies on. He was like, but we need to agree on some things. I want to know where you're going to be located. I mean, none of that was secret at any time. If he felt like he needed to be where I was, I'm pretty sure he's never had to do that. He's never done that. There is a lot of trust in our relationship when it comes to that. And, so he wanted to make sure that I had built in some safety mechanisms. Like I would prefer, he knows I'd love to walk. Like when I'm in new cities, I'm going to walk. I'm going to do a lot of walking. He was like, when it starts to get to be sundown, either you take a ride share back to where you are, or you just agree to make sure that you're indoors at a good time.
Right.
And that or that if you're going to be out late, that we at least ping each other and
Checking in.
check in as a check in. And
Yeah.
I said I'm fine with that. So,
Right.
just even the house sitting thing was new, even though we had done Airbnbs before. He was like, "What is that? What's happening with that? What are they asking you to do?" I was like, "I'm
Mm,
bringing in the mail. I'm watering some plants."
right.
It's about all that I do. I don't really do pet sitting. I do the non-pet house sits. So
Oh, okay.
primarily, and so that was kind of the introduction to my solo travel. I still work during those experiences, so I have routines in my day,
Uh,
but the things that I do before work and the things that I do after work or that I take time off for, because I usually do try to take some PTO time to
right.
just explore a lot of the places that I try out. That it's really helped me. One of the things that I feared as a married woman, and we've been together 32 years. We have been married
Mhm.
for 25. Is the reality that either he will live alone because of life circumstances and my passing, or that I may live alone because of
Right.
life circumstances or my husband passing. And so it's important to me to have confidence in my ability to take care of myself. He does such a beautiful job of taking care of me. Okay. When I
Right.
say taking care of me, I mean, he's the primary cook in our home. Like I cook because I want to and not because I need to. He does, girl, our kids would have starved. To be honest with you, I was like, I'm not that girl. But
Right.
and so I really had a need to feel that um, I could stand on my own for my own confidence. But I think what's wound up happening is that he has felt confident if anything happens, that he's known that I could take care of myself. He's witnessed me taking care of myself. And I think that
Yeah.
brings a level of peace as you age,
Yeah.
as an individual,
Yeah.
but also as a couple, that we've built in some mechanisms to make sure that I can live independently. He could live independently. So making sure, account access and, all of the things that it's made us think deeper about preparing ourselves into the future. So solo travel has really been a catalyst for personal discovery for me. Like I love hiking. I bought a pair of roller skates for my birthday. I do something really cool or weird for each birthday. This year I bought roller skates because I was like, I used to love to skate. And so now skating is a part of my exercise routine. I bought them when I was on my solo trip to Colorado. So I just, I'm finding the girl that I was. I'm affirming the woman that I am, and the woman that I'm growing to be, and finding the quiet. There's a lot of peace in quiet and hearing
Yes.
my own thoughts. There's a lot happening in the mid 40, 50s body.
And beyond. Yeah.
And,
Mhm.
and I think if you have a calling, I hope that women are taking time to be quiet within themselves, even if it is your ride to work. Turn off the radio if you're driving. If you are walking, which I love to walk, that is my primary form of exercise, but I tend to, listen to a podcast. I was like, every once in a while, I'm going to leave my phone at
Mhm.
home and just
Listen.
my own
Yes.
thoughts, because you have an inner knowing. And I believe that solo travel has given a microphone to the woman in here. And with a microphone, I can hear her clearly. And I wanted to attune my ear to my needs. And solo travel has been an important part of that discovery process.
So we have a couple comments. Chai Doll. Hey, hon, Miss Chai Doll. She's actually a good friend of mine, and she's the one who kind of spurs me on to do certain things. But she says, was one of them up here I was looking at. She said, other cultures normalize mommy time. She said, I know a millionaire who gave his wife mommy away time monthly. And she says, whereas, because her children are grown, I felt guilty taking time for myself. And that's so true. We do. We feel guilty, but then at a certain point, that guilt stops. It's like, okay, y'all, bye. It's me time. The other one says, she says, having adult children and taking a month away is doable. Just curious about being away from your partner. I guess is a question for you. That long is harder for me to grasp. So,
Yeah.
how did I mean? Because I have to admit, because I went to Portugal in June for was it 2 weeks, 15 days, something like that. But it was hard, and I guess it was hard for me emotionally, and I think maybe because I knew this was more of a scouting trip for me to move, and then I would be moving away from Pierre for a short time. But how was that for you? How did you? What was your thinking? How did you feel about it? What was going on inside you?
Yeah. Okay. So
Uh-oh.
the really beautiful benefit is you don't really get a chance to miss your partner when you are together every day. And that was something that um, there was some transition there.
Mhm.
Seeing him every day, but our conversations, we could still have them. We still, did video chat, or, there were times where I've said, okay, so I want to have a break. Y'all, we have graduated. As I keep saying, it's incremental. I
Okay.
didn't start off with 1 month. I really did. There were shorter trips. Like I said, my work trips were sometimes, 4 or 5 days, sometimes a week.
Mm,
And so I'd had that back and forth with him over the years. And so,
right.
kind of managing that, it does take kind of a different set of skills to be able to emotionally be apart, physically be apart from your partner for a long period of time. And I felt like I needed that
Yeah.
to kind of mm, there's a we-ness about marriage that is very important. There is an independence of a married woman that is also very important to pay attention to. And it the harmony between the two can take time to develop. I want to say that. And sometimes I'm good the whole trip. There are times when I'm like, I'm that third week, I'm just like, I cannot wait to be home. I miss you. I miss my husband on an energy level, like energetically, we share that. Physical level, like I'm not hugging nobody. I'm not, I was just like, you kind of miss the touch, the special touch of your partner, to laugh together in the same space, to have a rhythm together. It's why I'm married. It's why but I'm recognizing that I need that to begin to recognize some things that I had taken for granted in my marriage that I'm able to bring forward. So what happens in a day now is news, because I'm sharing it at the end of my day. But we're not together, and I'm not talking to him throughout the day. There are things that I'm doing that kind of bring the dating passion back. The dating, the things that you pick up on about how you rely on your partner and the special place that you've allowed them to carve out in your life. But it's also helped me to see that when I have new experiences, I believe that I am elevating and enhancing parts of me that I'm now able to share at a new level with my partner and with myself. And so what I'm really excited about being a woman 50 and over and traveling is that there's more to discover about myself. There are more questions that I want to answer within myself about who I am and why I do what I do, and why what is when I have new experiences, especially doing the things that might be scary or that I've never done before, like who is that girl, and what is it awakening in these new parts of my brain that I've never given myself the freedom to explore. The saying that I feel like I have centered probably between my 49th and 50th birthday is this: I think it's a shame if I died and I didn't know myself.
Yes.
And so I deserve to know me and to know me best. And I feel like not just time away, but trying new things, meeting new people. And I'm talking about this is the introverted Danica that's out in the world, the introverted D that's out here in the world, that is trying to push boundaries, because it's not until you kind of have those rubber meet the road moments that you go, oh, I'm stronger than I thought I was, or I'm more resourceful than I thought I was, or I'm okay peopling more than I thought. That I had built the habit of over my life, and that discovery is a beautiful, treasured process that makes me say, I love this experience, and I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again sooner, and I'm going to do it more often. I think because it's easy to kind of go, okay, that was nice, and then kind of go back into my everyday life. And so sharing the solo travel journey has made me say, I think more women need to hear that you are still blooming. Like your blooming years, your personal development, your taking a chance, doing things. You know, I was like, I never would have tried to backpack across Europe. Like, girl, it's safety. Like, where do they do that? But you
Mhm.
know, when you can say, where can I build in incremental risk? You know, things that a way
Right.
that I would travel that I don't normally. I'm like, okay, when I get to a place, I want to know this, this, and this. I've tried it where I go to a place, I know the basic things, but I'm not scheduling myself tours and things like that. Just like I
Yeah.
just want to allow it to flow. That is completely against what I normally do. You need to have time. You need to have multiple experiences. And I think solo travel can build that in for
You
you.
sound you sound like you're a planner like me, because I plan things, and I and it's funny because as we're talking about, how we transition from our 20s, 30s, and 40s. In my 20s, I never planned anything, and that's why I was always in a in trouble. In my teens, I didn't plan nothing. That's why me and my mom butted heads all the time. In my 20s, I was like, just let it flow. But then you start having children and things have to be planned, and then that becomes a part of you, who you become. And I'm like, I'm trying to pull back from that planning. Yes, you need to plan some things, but I'm trying to pull back from that planning in my 50s, and just kind of let it go. With, of course, being safe is the primary goal, but just saying, okay, I'm just going to do this and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to let it flow as it flows. And that is hard. It's hard to break that habit that you've been doing, in my case, 30 years, 30 plus years of just having everything on a schedule. And then another big part of it is, my husband is very much into safety. His big thing is safety. And as you know, living in America, you got to be extra safe.
Right.
And so his mindset is always, okay, safety, safety, safety. And I appreciate it and I get it. But what you just said about just, not having a schedule, not planning, just figuring out when you get there, of course you have your place to stay, but when you get there, just as it comes. And
Mhm.
that's the beautiful, I think that's the beautiful part and the relaxing part. It relaxes your soul. It relaxes that spirit in you, not having to worry about having something to do every single day, just letting it flow. So, how has being a solo travel changed or influenced your outlook on life, relationships, and personal growths in your 50s?
Probably most important is that centering work doesn't mesh. I'm seeing that it doesn't mesh with how I want to live my life. I want
Okay.
to have more living in my life and not so much about continuing to build this career. Um, I think I'm highly aware of that because my father's mother, my grandmother, passed at
Mhm.
56. And
Oh,
so when you have experienced someone that you love, I didn't realize how young she was until I was much older and I, was looking at her obituary and recognizing, looking at the date saying, my grandmother was not an old lady when we lost her.
mm-mm,
And
mm-mm.
so a lot of the decisions around how I took care of myself, things like exercise, nutrition, weight management, things like that. I thought that was really the focus of paying attention to, how not to follow that same path to dying at an early age. And what I
Yeah.
realized is I wanted more life in my years. And so while I can't quit, I can do more with the capacity and the flexibility that my work does afford me. But I am working toward a point where I can have more of my time for me. So things like a huge stash of PTO is not a flex. If
No,
I
it's not.
if
Use it every year.
if you've got 3-figure PTO time, sister,
Something
find
wrong.
yourself, some way to take time for yourself.
Yeah.
What it's made me recognize is that I don't have to go far for self-discovery. And so, if I take some time and go to a hotel, it's kind of like with meditation. The more you do it, the quicker into the zone,
Right.
you can get into the zone a lot faster each time
Mhm.
that you're in that practice. And I feel like I can now probably get many of the same benefits. I know how to get into that quiet zone. I know I could go places within driving distance. I can go places in the U.S. One area that I'm working on for 2025 is to do solo international travel. So I was so proud to hear that you had done Portugal. But I was just like, I've not been out of the country without a group of people on my own. And I feel like that's an area. I remember my dad saying, "Why do you want to buy a stick shift?" That was my first car. And I said,
Same
because
here.
I don't know how to drive a stick shift. I will never allow something to be a barrier to me that if I took time to learn it, I could do it. And that was the first, I believe. And I was just like, where is that girl? And I want more of her as a part of
Yeah.
my daily life. And so I feel like that is the transformation that's happening for me. Is I've been able to find a way to integrate these experiences into the life that I have, and it has made me hungry for more of it. Now we're building the structure, the financial structure, to be able to do more of that exploration as a couple, and then individually for me as a solo traveler. Because if I only had 56 years, how do I want to give majority of that time to an employer? No.
Mm-mm.
I know how to live on a budget. Trust me. We have learned to live on budgets. Black women know how to, what do they say? How to squeeze a dollar out of 15 cents. We know how to do those things. And we have witnessed the women in our family doing those things. I want to create a contrast here. My mother is not, I feel like she had an adventurous spirit and never came back to it. And so she lives the life she wants to live. And when I check in with her, she is fine with where she is and what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
She has the quality of the life she wants. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law would send her on trips, and my husband saw his father do that for his mother, all while he was growing up. And so I want to say, when you have a partner who has experienced that with someone that he's close to, his parents. I mean, like, Dad was sending mommy to Hong Kong. I mean, this is when we were married. So he was sending her to Hong Kong. He was sending her to Jamaica. He was sending her on these trips. She was a teacher, so she had many of the summers off. And so she would spend time, just her, in these on these trips. And I was like, wow, you've got to really have a lot of money to be able to do that. Well, when you start learning life hacks, then you can receive those same benefits. And I saw how beneficial it was for her as a person, but also for them as a couple. And I needed to witness that was good within marriage, and that it could be there's a healthy way to do that, where you have a couple that is in a trusting, stable relationship.
Yes. Yes. Oh, the luxury bucket list. Yes, my husband has sometimes been harder to convince, as as we are your age and peak earning age, yeah,
Mhm.
and just reached our 25th anniversary. Congratulations.
Absolutely.
Lockdown expenses has showed us tomorrow isn't promised. We work remote. Yes. Yes, it's not promised. It's really not promised, and we have to I think we have to get out of this fear too, especially as Black,
Mhm.
well, I'm gonna say as Black women, we there is a certain amount of fear to step
Mhm.
out there and to do something different. And when we reach the point where we're like, "You know what? I've gotta do this scared or not." 'Cause I
Mhm.
take my YouTube channel as an example. I started this at we've been doing it maybe a year now, and I was never the kind of person who would wanna be, you can ask Chai Doll in in the comments. I would have never done this. I hate hate it. Now I'm like, "Oh, okay." I still get real nervous, but I had to get out of that fear. I had to get out of that fear, and I think, again, that mentality of being a certain age, you're like, "You know what? If I mess up, if I look stupid, so what? You get to that point where you're like, well, whatever." But yeah, we have to get out of that fear, and I think a lot of us are
Mhm.
still in that fear of, well, what if I this or what if I that? And it's like, you got at some point just say, you know what? Life is way too short to be stuck in your fear and not doing the solo
Mhm.
travel and taking the chance, because you said you're an introvert. But I want to go back to those roller skates because I bought a
Mhm.
pair of roller skates and I bought them no, I bought them many years ago. I tried twice. I got on them once. I was like, okay, got them on the second time, fell out in my driveway. I haven't put them on since. It's been a number of years.
Oh,
So
no.
congratulations to you.
Look, I go padded up, y'all, in a helmet. Look, hey, broken
I didn't
bones
fall
at
on
my
my
age,
head. I fell on my back. I was like, that's
age
it.
is
I'm
not,
done.
I don't want to have to recover from that. But yeah, I feel like, the time, there's no better time in the present.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ride in my neighborhood. I had to go to a skating rink. I was just like, it's safer in here than it is out there on the
You're right.
concrete.
Yeah. Maybe I should have done a roller skating rink. I didn't even think about that. I was just like, I got a pair. Boom. That's it. So they're
That's
sitting
it.
in the back of my car. So maybe I'll try roller skating rinks.
It is a great form of exercise, and I
It
was
is.
looking for some new ways. I think also some of the things that I've picked back up in my life. I know that we're talking about solo travel, but some of the things that I've picked up from you know my childhood are actually helping me to connect with other women, with other people. So I
Okay.
picked up crochet again. I've
Okay.
picked up sewing again, and like I said, it's a discovery or a rediscovery of things. I love to read. And so I'm a part of virtual book clubs, but you know, but there's some things that I do when I go to a new city. I'm going to ride the public transportation because we are
Mm.
so car oriented in the US. And I know we're moving outside the US. So I've got to get used to, how to read the bus schedule and, doing that.
Right.
I think I also always go to the local public library. And the
Okay.
public library, well, I've had to do our podcast from the library when the internet has gone down at my house since. And so it's always a great community resource, but also you get a chance to meet people and get a real sense of the community. So I
Yeah.
think when you are solo traveling, there may be some ritual touch points that you can establish for yourself so that it kind of it can begin to feel familiar to,
Right.
even if the place is different, the process is familiar for you.
Right. Right. So are you finding it easier to in your 50s now connecting with women than when you were younger?
The intention around
Mm,
that. So let's see. So when you're a parent, you are probably with other parents, other basketball team parents,
right.
grade level events. Your partner, and so you develop friendships because your kids are together. What I've had to relearn is how to make friends.
Okay.
As someone that is, more on the introverted side, but that is not based on proximity. So, you have work friends, you have, you have, when we were going to church, there were church friends, there were, things like that that are because we're in the same place. I have had to develop, and solo travel has helped me to develop the skills to just reach out to women and say, hey, would you like to have coffee together?
Mm.
Like, that's new for me. Like, it's totally new. And so um, I have gotten better. I can recognize when I have, anxiousness before, and how to work my way to, being okay and being in the new space with new people. And so, yeah, I just feel like I'm creating opportunities to connect. People who love to travel love to talk about their travels. And so I want to be near those folks, and I don't have to carry the conversation. So, like, that is
Yeah.
it's created the opportunity for me to be intentional about some things that I know I want to work on, that I put on my vision board that I didn't realize was a part of what I wanted. Like, it wasn't until I laid the photos I cut out from a magazine, just some things that just resonate. I like this picture. I like this
Yeah.
phrase. I like this. And so when I started laying them out, I used one of those wall posted uh,
Yeah.
poster, so that you can just, like the sticky note, but you can put
Mhm.
on the wall that's a poster board size. And I started laying it out, and I was like, friendship? Like, what? You want to connect with people? Introvert? Really? And so I was just like, okay, so how do I mean, and it would literally, like, the more I stared at it, the more I began to look at the world around me, and the opportunities to connect with people presented them to me. And I said, okay, so yeah, some of this is going to be in the flow, but you're going to have to be intentional. And so, yeah, I've created, as a part of those solo travel times, an opportunity in the Exodus Summit community. We can call a meetup and say, hey, I'm in a place, and are you in this place? I'd love to meet with you. And so being a part of groups, like the crochet groups and the sewing groups and the travel groups, it's given me something that's a natural connection, a natural talking point, and a natural opportunity to make new connections intentionally.
Right. Yes. I've have found out for me because I too am an introvert,
Mhm.
and I found out for me that once I started feeling a little more comfortable or trying to get out of my fear, I've
Mhm.
told myself I'm going to make it a point to reach out to women, who are in the same like mind as myself, and
Mhm.
reach out because I'm finding out that what I was afraid of that rejection when
Mhm.
I was younger, it's really not there. And that that those people who are like-minded are more than happy to, yeah, let's get together, let's do that. And that has slowly gotten me out of this fear of, well, I'm not going to approach them because they might reject, or they might say no or whatever. But that community to me has become very important, um, especially amongst, women, like I said, that's the same mindset and around the same age and enjoying the same types of things or going in the same similar directions that I'm going in. So it is important to have that community, very important to have that community with other, Black women. So that's yeah, very important. Let's see. Oh, luxury bucket. In my 20s, I studied abroad in Europe and was reckless when I backpacked across Europe, but I survived. It wasn't, it was an formative experience for me. Yeah.
Yes.
I wish more of us would have done that when we were younger. But that just, I know for me, it wasn't an option. That wasn't something my mother was even or my father was even thinking of letting me do. Go what? No, you're not going. How you gonna pay for that? But
Exactly.
how you
Exactly.
gonna pay for that? So I know you have a very busy schedule, so I don't want to keep you any longer than I have to. I truly appreciate you coming on here, Dee. And this is your second time. I want to have you and Herman back because those men need to talk some more. And I've been watching you. And how is your process coming along for where you guys are going to start scouting?
Yeah. So we are planning to put the house on the market. We
Oh,
are
okay.
doing some scouting trips. So I've mixed in a little bit of house sitting, and we're taking off some pretty substantial time,
Okay.
starting at the end of this year to confirm if there are some places. I think that where those would have been just I'd like to see, I think we're going to be taking some action based on the current political environment. Um,
Girl.
so we made sure we had at least one residency, and I think we're going to be moving forward with the second while we're on this trip. So
Okay.
I feel like the traveling has given both of us individually and as a couple the confidence that leaving, we're not exchanging hardship for the life of comfort that we have here in the States, and that dealing with change and being in a new space, being in a new place, we have both been working on those within ourselves and together, that we can make this. It's added a lot of value to the Move Abroad plan for us and the confidence that we have in our Move Abroad plan. So I keep saying, I think travel, and especially solo travel, it's going to give you a whole lot more than you ever anticipate. Start where you are. If you've not traveled out of your city before, go to another city in your state. If you've traveled outside of your state before, travel somewhere where you haven't, with intention. Like I want to have downtime, but I want to do some things, whatever is of interest to you. Sometimes I have a friend that her travel is focused on the museums.
Okay.
She loves going to museums. And so she picks places that she wants to go based on their access to some of the museums. And she's traveled both domestically and internationally to do that. But I think for women that are 50 plus, you have, I think there's I guess the benefit and kind of some of the decline of, or the detraction is people see us, but they don't really see us. Like I could make a mistake and nobody is pointing a finger.
Right.
In a lot of countries, they see my gray hair, there's an instant level of respect that I don't even get in my own country. And so I'm just like, oh, for real? You mean gray is a flex? Like I can use that. Okay, let's do this. But also, I think a lot of the things that we centered, what will our parents think? What will our friends think? What will people say if I do? I kind of have to sometimes watch my mouth because I'm just like, I really don't care. I don't really care what you think, to the people that are not in my core.
Right. That are not your core.
Really, I don't really care how you feel about that. And I feel like you lean deeper and deeper into that. I did. Beginning in my 40s, I didn't feel that level of freedom to be me. That 40 was a game changer, but 50?
Girl, whole nother level. Whole nother level.
If I don't care had a face, it would be the 50-year-old woman face. Okay.
Exactly. Oh, Pierre said, "What's up, Herman?"
Absolutely. He's gonna call. He's definitely going to call Pierre because he's getting ready to do his next Black Men Move Abroad. And he's bringing the brothers together again for sure. So
that would be great. That would be great. So one last question, then I'm gonna let you go because I know you're on a time frame. What has been the most challenging and most exciting about this stage in your life?
The most challenging and the most exciting. I think the challenging thing is I thought by 50, this is where you really try to lean into comfort. Like, you have your home, you have your money, you have, you've surrounded yourself with the things that you need. What I have discovered is that I'm still growing and I'm learning to live with the newness of that. And actually try to be intentional about how I invite it into my space. Angela, I never would have met you if I hadn't started a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And the beautiful sisters that are a part of my life that text me and say, "How you doing?" Or I have my friend, she and her husband live in Mazatlan, Mexico. And we were like, we didn't have time this week to, kind of ruminate together about, what happened in the US this week, but we made time this morning for each other. And I was just like, the life that I'm building is as beautiful, but even more beautiful. And so trying new things and growing in new ways should never be what happened in the past. It should be how you are evolving yourself in the future. And so to be able to say, I'm proud of myself for doing that, I'm proud of pushing my boundaries is totally new for me. You don't pat yourself on not in a public way. You might say, in a journal, D, I'm proud of you, but you don't get out here and say, look at what I've done. Look at what I'm learning. Look at, I am proud of myself. And I think other women can find some similarity in my story. My story matters. And that is, I believe, the beautiful part of this process is that my story is evolving, but my story matters. And I hope you can see a little bit of yourself and take a few of the gems that you and I shared, Angela, as a part of this conversation, and then build a process that literally works best for you, your children, your family, but most of all for you. You are the center, and it's okay to say that and to move in the world with your needs at the center without seeking permission, and to give yourself that kind of love and care.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Again, Dee, thank you so much. I always love talking to you, and your spirit just, it touches me. I love your spirit. So thank you again for being my first on this first episode, y'all, of Unapologetically 50 Plus. So I will be having more of these conversations. So if anyone out there, and ladies, my beautiful Black ladies, if you guys want to come on and sit down and have this conversation, it's an open, raw dialogue about being 50 plus. I would love to have you come on, give me some ideas of what you want to talk about. Again, this is my first episode, and Dee was my guinea pig for this one.
You know, this is my
guinea
jam,
pig.
so ask away.
So yeah, you guys can drop me an email. I have my email in the description, but I would love to speak to more ladies. I mean, it's about a community, it's about connection, because we need that. So yeah, thank you again, Dee. I truly appreciate you coming on here. And again, ladies, if any of you would like to come on and be a part of this conversation, then drop me an email, and I will have you on. All right. So you have a great day, Dee. Don't work too hard, hon.
Absolutely.
All right, y'all. Thank you again for joining me, you guys. Thank you again for joining us, and we will see you again real soon. Bye.
Bye.